Good morning, everybody. April 1st, Wednesday. Getting ready here for our live stream of the New York session. Hope everyone is well and doing great no matter where you are. I'm going to just wait here a couple of more minutes, maybe about another minute or so before we get started here with our live session. That's right. Good day, good morning, good afternoon, as it may be. Risk off flow going on right now in the markets. We're seeing the dollar definitely firming up over here. We're going to get into gold in a minute. Gold is hitting an area that is of interest. However, I want to talk about what the next few weeks are going to look like and what the best plan might be. We're also going to take a look at the DXY off its highs a little bit right now, but firming up. Got a little bit of work to do over here. If it breaks above this resistance, we might be off to the races, but we're going to look at that also. Bitcoin just hanging out. We could see, a little bit lower of a movement. We'll get into it all right now. We'll start off with the S&P though. Reason being, yesterday we were looking at this nice little, let me drop down here at least to a 4-hour time frame. We were looking at this rising wedge over here, which broke out yesterday. And you could see since has added about 100 points to the downside. Coming into this touch over here of that last swing low, it looks like we haven't taken out that low yet. Looks like there's a lot of downside momentum here. We have this morning, we have the ISM manufacturing PMI number coming out. Am I early? I guess my time zones are off. I thought that it wasn't to April 5th here. And when I say am I early, right? So it's only 8:30 a.m. Is that correct? What time are we in New York right now? A quick check on my phone here. Let me find out what's going on with the time zones here. New York has 9:30. Okay. So 10 o'clock it is. Sorry about that. It gets a little crazy in this global world we're in. I want to see what happens at 10 o'clock with the ISM numbers. Now, I don't know that data yet is becoming a thing, okay? But that's why I'm starting to watch it now to see when it does become a thing again. Now, I don't know how accurate these numbers are coming out. I don't know if we're getting some China numbers here in the US, which I wouldn't doubt whatsoever. But I want to see how the market reacts at the top of the hour when the ISM manufacturing PMI comes in. Same thing tomorrow with unemployment claims, and then Friday on non-farm payrolls and ISM non-manufacturing. Those are all important numbers. I want to see if the market starts keying in on data. I think it's more going to be focusing in on infections, which I think are going to be increasing over the next few weeks. Maybe at best case at the end of the month, at the end of April, is when the US starts to really hammer down that curve and start beating it. So what I'm looking for here is because of that, so let's stay on the flow, because I am expecting the infections to possibly level out towards the end of the month. I do expect, as President Trump said, the next couple of weeks are going to be pretty severe. And because of that, I think that we continue to see that US dollar flow, right? As well as, of course, the Japanese yen is the strongest on the session. Swiss franc also strong. We're going to get into all those setups in a little bit. But and I was wrong about not. Well, yeah, I was wrong. So first of all, for anyone listening right now, when I admit I don't know or I am wrong, deal with it. Deal with it. All right. I don't want to see any. Don't comment me. Oh, I can't. What's this nonsense? You don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a trader. It's exactly right. I do not know. I do not know. All right. So I'm wary of the Japanese yen going into next week when the Bank of Japan is ready to act. Might have been a little premature. Japanese yen is the strongest currency on the day. Nevertheless, I took my safe setups on the Swiss franc. working out just fine. Um, and definitely my trade of the day is up over 140 points on the S&P, and continuing to hold, looking for further pressure these next couple of weeks as the infections rise, specifically in the U.S. Keeping a close eye on what happens in Italy and Spain, looking for them to really turn the corner over there and put some hope into the world. But I think that we do test down. If we don't break down to new lows, I'm definitely first looking for a test over here. That kind of leads me into the first thing I'm looking at here. I am looking for a further rise here on the dollar, on the DXY. I see a little bit of a pattern that I want to draw in over here. It's kind of important. All right. And I'm gonna go with a different color than I normally go with, just so I could point this out to us. We'll go with blue. All right, let me zoom in a little bit. Um, and just one more. And I could see this little bit of a wedge developing. And, I really want to watch that wedge, because if we break, well, I expect it's going to break to the upside. I don't know. And if it breaks to the downside, I don't want to get caught off guard over here, because the fact of the matter is there's an enormous amount of stimulus being put into the markets here. None of that is dollar positive. If the Bank of Japan does act next week and comes in strong, that's going to take a bit of the load off the dollar and could help propel the dollar upwards. Same thing with the ECB. Let's see what they do. But if it's only the U.S. that acts over here, ultimately that's not going to bode well for the dollar. Either way, gold is going to be the beneficiary of all of this, as is Bitcoin. But forget about Bitcoin for right now. Let's focus in on gold. Jesse, you could use Kraken is probably the best choice. You could buy it directly from FX Choice, but you'd be paying a fee to convert your dollars to Bitcoin of 1.5%. Here, I wanted to switch over to gold with you. Yeah, US indices are off their lows on the open. We'll see if that continues or not. There you go. You see the last it's probably the last 10 minutes they've put in a little bit of a bounce, and it's market open noise. There's that little bit of a bounce. Um they're pretty beat up. I got a nice beautiful entry over up here. And I'm just holding. See what happens. I'm looking for definitely some lower lows over here. Well, I don't mean all-time lows over here, or low of this crisis, perhaps, but definitely let's see what happens. Gold, though, is interesting, and I want to talk about gold with all of you this morning, because we were looking for this consolidation over here, and then we were looking for it to drop down into this area around here, 1550, a little bit lower. There's also up here at 1562, a bit of support. So you could just put an area over here of supply. Now, here's the thing. Why I do believe everything that's happened is ultimately going to benefit gold. I do again believe the next few weeks are going to be pretty risk off, definitely risk off environment. People simply do, and anyone who tells you they know what's going to happen has absolutely no idea. They're completely wrong. We don't know whether or not by the end of April we're going to be able to turn the corner here, or if it's going to go into May, or even get worse. We don't know what's going to happen overseas. We don't know what's happening inside China, because they're completely closed off and manipulating everything. We don't know. Hopefully we see some good signs out of Spain and Italy. But nevertheless, I think we could focus in on swing traders on the near term. And over the next couple of weeks, over the next few weeks, things look like they're going to be pretty risk off. I don't think gold is going to start benefiting yet. I do believe that gold could see a further decline down back towards this area of supply, right? Call it 1510 and between 1480, and that would be a place that I'm on the paper market that I would really want to be getting long gold. Um, I don't know, and I'm undecided, and I will let you all know if somewhere around this area I decide to take a fraction of a position, just so I have a fraction of a position on in case we don't break down lower. There is the possibility because of all of the reaction by the Fed and the government that it's enough stimulus that it keeps gold bid, or we could really see if we get that bit of a breakout we're looking on the dollar, that we see a lot further pressure on gold coming back, testing this area or perhaps lower. Nevertheless, here was too high to buy. Now we're getting a little bit more attractive. I do, at the end of the day, want to have a piece of gold on the paper market inside my portfolio, because you know what, there is going to be plenty of time later to convert that into the physical stuff. Don't believe what you hear. There's plenty of physical stuff right now. It's just dealers are making taking advantage of the situation and making that extra premium on all of retail looking to purchase right now. All right, let's look at. We'll go in order. First, look at the U.S. dollar, Canadian dollar. Then we'll look at the euro, U.S. dollar, and then a bunch of other things as well, of course. Um, by the way, really important, really important. Thanks for all being here. Thanks for being here and doing this with me. I'm really really grateful. Let's see what I see. What's going on here on the U.S. dollar, Canadian dollar, and ooh, we got the blue lines going now. I like the blue lines. So if you really see what's going on, if you really see what's going on, we're consolidated. We're consolidating this big breakout. Boom. And this is a pattern by now that all of you are familiar with. Whenever we see those huge moves, right? What happens after? We see that the price discovery until we get ready for the next break. So is this a place to short? Well, I think the dollar is going to be continue to be bid. Gonna hiccup here. Stay with me. I want to pull up a dollar. All right. I think the dollar is going to continue to be bid. I'll show you in a level 1 second where I'm looking at the dollar levels because it's on this chart. I don't know what's going on here this morning with a little bit of a hiccup. I'm gonna change connections right now. So what I think the best thing to do on the U.S. dollar, Canadian dollar here is play it safe. You could look to lean in towards the bottom. If we get back towards the bottom, thumbs down. I appreciate the love there. Thank you very much. I'm glad you're here with us. I'm glad that you value your time so much that you needed to drop in here and hand a thumbs down. Um, if we come down towards the lower end of this little bit of a trend line over here, I think that's a place to lean in to buy the dollar over the Canadian dollar. Absolutely. Because then your risk is limited. Where you could limit your risk, and then even onto the upside of this triangle, you have a good risk to reward. I think we're going to break to the upside over here of this triangle and break back out here on the U.S. dollar, Canadian dollar. Now that's not a given, but that's what I do believe. So here's a look at the DXY, and I have this little bit of a triangle as well, and you could see that it's leaning towards the top side. This is more flat. Why this has the triangle? If we break down to the bottom, to the downside over here, okay, then I think that we're going to see a pretty substantial sell off on the dollar. But right now, my speculation is on that we break out to the upside over here. That would also definitely see further pressure on the Canadian dollar. I don't think that the oil situation is close to resolving itself. Look at Brent crude up here though this morning. It is up 15%, or is that 5%? 15%. WTI is only up 1% though. All right. And Canadian crude, last we heard it was down towards $5. I heard Wyoming sour was trading negative yesterday. So there is the possibility that both Texas inland and Canadian both do go negative for a short period of time as well. But right now, this is where I'm focused here on the dollar, this little pattern, waiting for it to take shape and to break out over here. And I'll keep eyeing that. As far as the euro US dollar, let's take a look at that. So obviously it's going to be related to looking at the dollar index over there. Yeah, Thomas, crushing it. So we had the dollar peak up a little bit higher than our heavy resistance over here, and has since been back under pressure. You could see that we made a lower low than yesterday. Now you're coming into this area of support down here. The support is at 0.108932, and we're kind of close to that right now. You could see the top area of resistance over in this little bit of area. Okay, and that's where we leveled that into over here. Is am I remain bearish on the euro US dollar. Um, I would love in the next couple of weeks if we come back down over here and not only test this, but break it. And I'm not trying to tell you that's what's going to happen. That's what I'm hoping is going to happen. That's what I'm looking to happen. Now, it couldn't be any clearer, the pattern to watch on the DXY. Let's continue watching that. That's going to give us the heads up of what happens next. Now, if we do break to the downside on the DXY out of that triangle pattern, does it make sense getting long the euro US dollar? Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. But right now, I definitely remain with a bearish bias over here. You could see also, longer term over here, you could see that I'm not going to keep that trend line in there or that triangle. I'm just trying to give you a visualization of what's happening over here, and we continue to make lower highs. So let's see right now if we're able to come back down and test the lows and or break them. I remain very much a dollar bull, and now I have a little near-term swing pattern to watch on the dollar to give a clearer indication of what's next. Let's look at the US dollar, Japanese yen, and then we'll look at the US dollar, Swiss franc before we get into other pairs. Tom is nice trading 100% that the Japanese yen was the play. I am looking to build out that. I should have took them. I'm looking to build out a portfolio here that of positions that I am holding for these. I believe we have 3 or 4 weeks here of risk off coming up, and I want to be able to ride that wave on a long board. I'm not looking here to short board, get fancy in one short wave over here right now. US dollar, Japanese yen over here, you could see it trading right here at support, right? It looks to me like it wants to break down and that it could break down, but you're at support, and as long as that support holds, you know, um, the Japanese yen has been outperforming the US dollar for sure this past week. Now you could take the high and the low over here, right? And we still are towards the top, the top half of that. So that's a little bit of a like, what could I really look for to give the dollars a bullish case here on the US dollar, Japanese yen? We're trading towards the top half of the range and into this area of support. Now, I personally would have a hard time leaning in over here. Well, I do have a hard time leaning in over here, and I don't want to take any longs over here. However, next week the Bank of Japan is really set to act. I really do believe that that is going to be net bearish for the Japanese yen. I think the US dollar will be the biggest beneficiary of that versus the Japanese yen. Is it too soon to take that trade? It's just, it's not clear. It's not easy. So could there be more pain to the downside before that happens? Yeah. Would I step in over here at 105, 60? Yes. If we trade down there before the Bank of Japan meets, I would feel comfortable leaning in over there. US dollar, Swiss franc. That's not nice to hear at all because that means a loss of jobs. That means families hurting. Um, Definitely sorry to hear that. Here's a look at the US dollar Swiss franc. This actually looks better than the US dollar Japanese yen, right? Where the yen is definitely strongest on the session. The US dollar and Japanese yen are definitely in a tug of war right now, and dollar is trying to hold that level of support. But again, we just looked at it. I would feel more comfortable if the yen definitely won this battle and get a chance to buy the dollar versus the yen at that 105.60 level. But here, the US dollar is definitely, bid all around. Dollar index is firming up and definitely stronger than the Swiss franc. So if the dollar breaks out of that little pattern we're looking at, which you can't see here, but you can see if it gets above this resistance at 99.90, then you could see the US dollar, first of all, really pump up, back towards 102. I would think it would be looking to test initially, and then you would see, I think, the US dollar Swiss franc back testing this top resistance, or this resistance over here towards the top of this range, and that's what it looks like. You also see the set of lower lows. So the US dollar is pretty bullish against the Swiss franc at the moment. The only one that's really out battling the US dollar is the Japanese yen, and that one is kind of in a stalemate today. Australian dollar, Swiss franc. So the Australian dollar, ooh, the Australian dollar is pretty weak today. We were looking, and we timed this almost perfectly from the low that the Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar put in. I don't know if it's trading view charts right now or if it's the internet connection being throttled or what's going on. I do apologize for the little bit of slowness. I myself don't like it. So um, this is a clear textbook setup that we saw over here. We timed this extraordinarily well, waiting, 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 waiting. This is the first place we acted, right? And price so far is being rejected by that resistance. Now it looks good. We're coming into a period, which I do expect to be continued risk off. This is a nice trade. The Australian dollar Japanese yen was a lot better neighborhood to be hanging out overnight, which the Japanese yen making bigger gains than the Swiss franc. However, again, I'm worried about what happens next week with the Japanese yen, and this is a good place to be hanging out, also, right? We're headed towards a risk-off environment. We have a lot of data coming in this week, which should also be risk-off. More importantly, towards the market, we're looking as, the president is preparing the nation. The next couple of weeks are going to be very, very difficult. And I think we're going to see risk off in the markets. If so, this is going to continue to fall into favor. Same thing with the New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc. New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc, same exact, almost 100% correlated right now, almost with the Australian dollar, Swiss franc. Again, patience paid off. This was the opportunity to strike, downtrend into strong resistance, sell it, and that's the trade you want to take all day long. And you take those trades all day long. If you have the fortitude, the patience, and the awareness to only do that, you're going to be profitable. Um, let's also take a look here at what happened with the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, Australian dollar, US dollar. Australian dollar, US dollar, this was another one where downtrend, pullback. This was an area to first try. This is support now. We're trading below it. This was an area to first look for a pullback and try to play this rejection off the resistance, which would have got you at the very least a stop loss at break even. Trade wind up actually taking control of that resistance, flipping it into support. This was the next area of resistance to try to come in over here. And now we're trading back below this area of support, which is not holding. If later today, price is trading below that, we'll change that to red. And then again, we're looking for the dollar to be bid over these next few weeks, and the Australian dollar, with the rest of the equity market and with the rest of any type of risk assets, should be seeing a retest of the lows over here. That's in a perfect world. Of course, we don't know that what's going to happen, but that's what I'm looking to happen. Now, the markets today, from what I'm seeing volatility pick up a little bit over the last few sessions. Not uber volatile as we saw earlier last week, but we are seeing pretty extended ranges. If you remember, we were seeing actually paired. You could see the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, Australian dollar, US dollar, a point and a half over a percentage point. Australian dollar, Japanese yen. Thomas, get on you, man. This was the trade. This was the trade of the day. So look over here because this is interesting. I wish I was hanging out over here. I didn't get this one. But again, this was the first opportunity. Pull back into resistance. You know, uh, this area of support is what held. We're testing that area of support again. Here was the next opportunity. I didn't take it. You can't take them all. And now we're coming in and we're testing that low again. If we do break down further, today and in this session, yeah, we could see much lower lows over here. Wow, there's a couple of hundred pips in there, possibly. And, I'm for one who's a firm believer that that's what we're going to see. Now, again, and the reason why I wasn't involved over here is, well, honestly, I don't know what's going to happen next week, as the Bank of Japan did announce they're going to act, and they are going to act. So I'm assuming the Japanese yen is gonna weaken on that. It's a question to see how much and how the market reacts. This is probably the most important pattern I am watching in the market. All right, we're inside of it. Why I have a bullish bias. I have no idea which way it's going to break, and if it does break down at that point, I have to get out of any U.S. dollar positions I am in, or at least hedge them. we break out to the upside, it's going to be just absolutely cruising. We're seeing equities come off the highs now. So here's the thing: Canadian dollar, Japanese yen. We saw the Canadian dollar actually against the U.S. dollar making a little bit of a pushback, but not versus the yen. The yen remains in firm control. So this is the one thing that I really want to talk to you right now about. That's really important. So right now, with what's going on in the market, this is when you should be riding trades today, right? Yesterday and the day before was when that set of waves was coming in, and we were watching them. Today is not the day to be looking for setups, right? That was that was yesterday, right? When we saw and we looked at all of whether it was the Australian dollar, Swiss franc, the New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc, Australian dollar, US dollar, New Zealand dollar, US dollar, or versus the Japanese yen, which we looked at the setup, but I said I'm not going to choose that one. I'm glad those that did, but that was the time, or the S&P. I pointed this one out to everyone yesterday, right? These were the time to take the trades, and right now, I'm holding those trades and pushing them, right? And looking to push them further. So you have to know when that wave's coming in, and that's always when it's the most unsure and the hardest. But that's when you got to get in them, and that's when you got to decide how long you're going to ride them for. Now, if we do get a breakout over here on something like the DXY, is it possible then to come in, step in, and get involved in new setups? Yep, absolutely. Probably versus the Japanese yen as well. That's something that so far the Japanese yen for the last probably, I'm guessing, 6 sessions has been in control, right? So it's pulled back a little bit. And if you start getting dollar bid, one of the beneficiaries might be the US dollar, Japanese yen, especially going into next week's Bank of Japan's ready to act. Wilfer, we're going to see something more towards the end of the week. I believe Monday. I believe on Monday. I'll keep you alert though. Monday is when I'm 95% sure. Is it possible? We've seen that in Europe, kind of, right? As cases escalated, we saw kind of. I don't think so though. I don't think so. I think what could thwart the U.S. dollar is the reaction by the Fed and the reaction by the stimulus provided by the U.S. government. That's something that's definitely a headwind for the U.S. dollar. That's something that gold is going to benefit from. That's something that Bitcoin is going to benefit from. But right now, things are, even with the additional swap lines the Federal Reserve is providing, things are broken. There's a shortage of dollars. I think this is what is causing the move on the dollars, as well as we are in a risk-off type of environment. So I think the worse things get actually benefits the dollar more. So even if things get bad inside the U.S., why that does affect the U.S., that's not helping things in Europe or China, because it's the U.S. consumer that helps both of those countries, right? So I don't think so at all. And I do think as cases inside the U.S. escalate, that's just going to be risk off, which is you're going to see a bid in the dollar because of that. Oof. So, John, you crushed everything for real. Well, I mean, you really did. First of all, the Australian dollar, US dollar was probably the biggest beneficiary over there. I'm going to kill you for the pound Japanese yen, because that's a trade that I got stopped out of break even, personally. and was a fat finger position mistake that would have been awesome. So you were all over the market, John. You were all over the market in the fact that you went short the US dollar, Japanese yen, which was the correct trade. However, then we're long the dollar versus the other pairs. So really, 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 really strong and good reading. Keep that focus, keep that pulse you have. That is a winning man's game right there. I don't care how little the positions were or the size of the account. If you keep focusing in on what you're doing right now and the type of the feel you have, that's going to lead to long-term success. Yeah, nice trading. Beautiful, Wilfred. I don't know. You did a really good job getting into those trades. Thomas also. You guys both did a really good job getting into those trades. Keep managing as you got into it because your analysis was very strong in getting into them, right? You had the gumption, as you saw. Let me pull up one. We already looked at the Australian dollar, New Zealand, Japanese yen. So let me just pull up the New Zealand dollar just so I can get a look at it. Look at that. I do not like when I do that and then miss the trade. But Wilford, you saw the pullback into the resistance up here, right? I don't know if you were watching this or not from yesterday's live stream, but then you took the trade over here. You're coming down from what I see. I'm not. I want you to manage this trade because you're the one who got into it. You know what you're doing over here. Um, Now you are into an area of support right over here, right where price is trading right now, which means two things, right? Could this be the extension of the move? Yes. If you break the support here, are you going to see a much further waterfall? Yes. Right? Um, Listen, I don't want to influence your trade management here. If I was trading it, I would be pushing it and holding it. I'm pushing and holding my trades right now in this environment. But things don't also go up and straight down. Dollar under pressure so far this morning. Uh, Obviously, it has to do with this ISM number. Let me check it out. Wow, a nice beat there on the IMSSM manufacturing. That's what's seeing the immediate dollar weakness over here. Um, I don't buy it personally. I don't buy any of the data coming out right now. We're seeing Chinese data come out of the US. That's fine. But you're definitely seeing that little bit of dollar weakness because of that number. Um, Now I am trying to pull up my DXY to see how much room I have on the downside over here. Plenty of room. For me, there's plenty of room here to the downside over here. So I'm waiting it out. I'm not at all. I'm just looking at this as a little bit of fluctuation. Let's take a look at the US dollar, Japanese yen. It looks to me like it's breaking down over here. It'll be easy to see when you're wrong if price does reverse up and start making higher highs. And again, In a perfect world, we get down, closer to 105.60. Then I would be a buyer of the US dollar versus the Japanese yen. Right now, I'm just waiting patiently to see what happens. Um, I think this is going to be a temporary little move against the dollar, personally. Because if anything, so it's showing that we're still in contraction below 50. So that was nice enough for them to put that data point up, at least below 50, even though it's a nice healthy beat. So if anything, that would be benefiting the US dollar, right? Um, but again, markets are doing what they do. Markets don't go straight up or straight down, and they fluctuate and they chop. And I'm just looking at a little bit of a bigger picture right here. So I'm not really getting pulled one way or other by these near term, in this New York session, these market fluctuations. Look what happened overnight. Look what happened in the last 24 hours. Look where we're headed, most importantly. And I think the next few weeks are going to be a very strong risk off type of environment. At least that's the way I'm positioned and hoping to benefit from. I want to check some headlines with y'all. This is, they're saying that the survey was taken before the lockdown, so expect the next one to be a lot worse. Again, it seems to me we're headed towards bad headlines and risk off going forward. And it doesn't look like, right now you could see like Italy and Spain, they're towards the position of when are we gonna, are we seeing improvement? Are we beating this down? Are we turning the corner? Once we start seeing that inside the US, then the possibility remains that that could be the low put in for the markets. Um, do I think before then? No, I don't. And of course, then we also have to worry about, secondary waves and things like that. But that will be the first sign of hope. Um, there's been a lot of reaction by governments around the world, central banks around the world. I think it's enough to initially starve off an immediate depression. It remains to be seen what happens with the economy. You know, ask yourself, how willing are you to go back out there, and how willing will you be at the end of April? I don't think anyone's in a rush to put themselves out there. I think that we're going to see, and more so, I think people are in the mindset of they need to save and not be spending. And we have seen a lot of extra spending, I think, on people actually, on supplies and food. So in that one area, we've seen a lot of spending. But once people kind of get stocked up, I think they're going to go into saving mode, and I don't think people are going to be looking to really be stimulating the economy. Nice sharp spike here on the that's the Dow, up 1% off its lows. S&P also. And if it's able to regain this area of support, which is now looking as resistance, if it's able to break above over here, yeah, then we could go much higher. I think that we would be looking, I'm going to draw this in for my own benefit, but towards 25.40. So right now, looking on the euro US dollar, um, you know, I'm hoping this is a head fake and that we trade back down. If it's not a head fake and we're able to take out that low and then rebound, obviously the next move is going to be back up towards this area of resistance at 109,917. I think that's an area that I will be looking to add to a short that will put the DXY at the bottom of that little triangle we're looking at. Uh, I'm I'm not buying this move though. Food spending. If we do, talking out loud, are able to reverse that little movement and start coming down, that's going to be really, really bullish on our little friend, the dollar. So again, as a trade, so who? Someone here yesterday was like, "Okay, I have the trade. I'm setting my orders and I'm shutting down the computer." And that's a strong way to trade. That's a strong way to trade because if you're doing your proper analysis, if you're doing your analysis and you're taking the trades that you're supposed to be taking, you have your stop set where you need to, if you're wrong, you're wrong, right? The best thing you could do then is walk away because if you're in front of the computer and you get faked out by market fluctuations, and that's what price does, it fluctuates up and down. You got to kind of like, you got to step back, look what the bigger picture is, and try to get a piece of that instead of trying to like, you stand in front of the slot machine, you're going to be pulling that lever. That's not what you want to do, right? Over trading is a sure way to set yourself on the wrong side of things. Hey, man, good to see you. Good morning, good afternoon. Yeah, we didn't look at the pound US dollar. Let's take a look at the pound US dollar happily. Pound remains a beast and strong. So this is pretty easy to trade right now. When I say pretty easy to trade, I see those two touches of support over here, and then that's holding as resistance. I was going to put just a little line, but I'm going to go now to a full horizontal line over here. And that's exactly why. But that's resistance over here. Now I'm looking for the dollar to firm up. So if that does, this might be a beautiful short entry here. This looks like from this move over here, this looks like the 50% fib or 50% pullback. This is resistance right over here. Now you get above it, okay, game on. Yeah, and that means the dollar most likely broke to the downside. But right here, this is where you look to short. This is where I look to short if I was looking to take a trade versus the pound, right? As we come up into this resistance. Now we are making on the 8 hour a higher high here in New York than during the London session, which traded down all the way into this area of support. This is not black and white, right? I have this area of support right there, but you could see where this was the one. Let me zoom in. You could see this was the one touch, and that was the other touch over there. I have it off the top, right, right there. I have it off the top of these candles over here. Um, Either way, guide, right? So the first time it didn't make it below this support. The support held. Let's see. Let's see if this resistance holds. If this resistance holds and price gets rejected, then probably the next time down, there's a good chance that this support will not hold, and then we're coming down. If we hold this resistance, I mean, if we break this resistance, we got room to the upside. So you're at a beautiful place to trade the pound US dollar. When I did say earlier that yesterday was the day for setups, well, here's a setup. Pound US dollar is it at a beautiful inflection point. It gives an opportunity to trade it. as you're into this resistance. You are into a downtrend. You've pulled back 50% of the way. If this does not hold, we're going up further, I do believe. But right here, you have to show patience now and look and wait to get into that trade. Sure, Phil. I'm sorry to hear that, and that's important though. Let's talk about that. Sure, Phil. Number one, back to basics. What does that mean? This is really important, actually. Let's focus in over here, Sherfu. This is you've dedicate a lot of your time here, so let's give some back to you right now. And not only that, you're definitely a great asset to the community, always with a super positive attitude, which is contagious for everyone. Listen, back to basics. What does that mean? First of all, make sure that you're not trading too big, right? If you're not really reading the market well, but you should be risking not more than 0.5% total on every trade. Okay, so for number one, go back to not risking more than 0.5%. You have to start there. Number two, 8-hour time frame. Number three, keep it very simple. Only buy support in uptrends and only sell resistance in downtrends. What does that mean? Well, in this type of market lately, it meant a lot of waiting. We just had a flow of waves and it was time to act. You have one over here. I don't know if it's the trade I would take, but yeah, you have a completely valid setup over here because you're into resistance, right? I might take a lot of that chop out by coming on the daily over here, and because it's chopping back and forth. If you're rejected by this resistance and start making lower lows, right, that's a trade. But what I'm really getting at is you have to go back to only buying off of support in uptrends and selling off of resistance. And Sherfu, that probably means, and it should mean, 3 trades a week. If you're taking more than 3 trades a week, you're trading too much. If you just focus in on those few things we discussed, that quickly and that easily, you will turn the corner. All right. So that's where you have to focus all of your attention. If you need to go back and re-listen to that, 2 minutes, 3 minutes again, and write down on paper those few things and then just focus in over there, that's exactly what you need to do. Euro shaking it off. Don't get faked out. Back down towards the bottom. Let's see if it could push or not. Same thing with the S&P. Let's see if they push down lower or they're able to stabilize. I don't know. I know that I get comments, people, what is the euro Canadian dollar going to do next? Pull up a daily chart, take a look at it. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Yeah, I have no idea. But this is starting to look interesting. Big move, consolidating. What's the next move? What's the next move? Right? We're going to find out soon. You can see that also in the US dollar, Canadian dollar, a little bit more pronounced. Absolutely, sure, Phil. I'm always here for you. I'm always here for you. We're here to help each other. And that's what it's all about. And there's nothing easy about it. There's nothing easy about it. It takes lots of work, it takes lots of support, it takes lots of dedication. Absolutely, Imran. That's what we do here. We got this small little tight group, and we're here for each other. There it is, beautiful. I wish I could highlight that comment. I wish I had a better setup over here. Back in my early days, maybe I was a little bit better tech oriented. I would love to have a little bit better of a live stream experience for all of us. But Thomas, this comment I am highlighting this week, I made sure to be patient. Right? There's no rush. The market's always going to be there, right? Patience pays off. Good stuff. Let's check out the US dollar, Japanese yen. Let's see how it's doing around that area of support. Let me come down to a 1 hour. It does look like it's breaking down over here. It's kind of easy, even just only looking at the 1 hour, because it'll be a fake break if you get back above there, right? So like, this is not my style of trading, and this is not a fast moving market right now. Right now, this session, it's not right now a fast moving market. So I would not be looking, you know me, I don't play the breakdowns, right? Sometimes, but if you were, you know you're wrong. Price regains, makes a higher high over here and start trading back up. That would be actually pretty bullish for the US dollar, Japanese yen. But right now, the yen has the upper hand. Santobang, I would absolutely love that. I've never had Malaysian coffee. I love myself some coffee. I would be all over that, my friend. I do appreciate the kindness. I'm gonna take a sip here of my matcha tea. Yeah, let's look at WTI. Good call on that. That's something that we should be focusing in on over here. Um, by the way, what else did I want? So a lot of traders, and you'll see them from time to time jump in here and be like, "Where's the signal? What's the trade?" First of all, if you don't know, then you should not be trading. Second of all, people don't want to hear the important stuff. People don't want to hear about the patience required, right? Everyone wants action and they want it right now. I had this little trend line drawn in. I'm gonna now move it outside of market. So it looks to me, and it appears to me, and I actually have a short position on here that I will exit at $22 if I'm wrong. Because what do I mean by wrong? Well, I know that I'm wrong. I think it's going to break down. And I think if it breaks down, it might break down. But where do I know I'm wrong? I have the last local high here at 22, right? And I have this trend line over here. So if we break out above here and over that last local resistance, there's my stop. And I could get out of that trade and really limit my risk. What what I would love to happen, and the reason I'm playing it is because of this pattern. You can see this pattern All right, less demand, less demand, less demand, less demand. Boiling point, boiling point, boiling point. If this breaks down, it's going to tumble. So and I have my eye on 1450 first stop. So do I think that could happen? I do. Do I recommend it? Not necessarily. This was the entry. Here you go. This is the support. Support broke. Come back in, test that support. There you go. That's my entry. That's the good entry, right? Is down here a good entry? No. Am I taking it with a tight stop here at 22? Yes. I'm keeping my eye back on this US dollar, Japanese yen. Oh, sorry about that. I'm keeping my eye here on the US dollar, Japanese yen, because the yen has been so strong. If the dollar could come here and fight back and regain this level, like it looks like it's doing, right? Gets interesting. I would love to. Right now, though, we got 5 kids. 4 of those kids are under 4 years old. We're not we're just not in that travel mode right now. We're in that quarantined homeschooling type of mode. What was that report? Is there a buildup of inventory yet, or what? If it's not showing yet, I think it's going to be showing soon. See if we could get Forex Live giving us a little bit of an update. What was the reaction? Not much of a reaction. Well, that's it. This is interesting, everyone. We heard of Bridgewater getting crushed last month, down over 20%, the largest hedge fund in the world. And not only that, Ray Dalio was fully aware of the situation, putting out, if you read the PDF on his website, Google it, the debt crisis, fully aware of the situation we were in and still getting wrecked. This is now that was the biggest hedge fund in history, Bridgewater. This is the best performing hedge fund in history, Renaissance Technologies, down 17 and 13%. Huge numbers. They charge a 60%. They charge 60% fee. I think they charge a 60% fee. I don't know if that's correct. Yeah, they charge a 60% fee. The greatest money making machine in history. Right? That makes me feel good about myself. let's look at both. Let's look first at the euro, Japanese yen. I'm seeing it's already down 1%, right? Let's start on the daily time frame. This over here, this is the worst trade of the month. This is when we looked at it together and we were like, okay, this is an interesting spot as we were up into this strong, strong resistance, right? I didn't get involved. Is the time to get involved down here? For me, no, absolutely not, because I sell off resistance and I buy off support. Am I buying off a support in a downtrend in this type of environment? No way. There's no way, right? Could this break down over here? I think so. We'll see what happens next week with the Bank of Japan, though. That could change things. I don't like this. I don't like this, which is just huge consolidation. If you break down, could we go much further? Uh-huh. Is this a place to step in and buy as you are down in support? Yes, but I don't buy support. I don't buy bottoms. I don't pick bottoms. This would be picking a bottom. I'd rather buy off of support in an uptrend. So I think the trade was missed. I think the trade was up here. Pound Japanese yen, on the other hand, I think this is offering opportunity. You could see over here, this is a downtrend. You could see the pullback up into an area of resistance, and now you could see that being rejected over here. So that's interesting. This is a possible trade right near where the entry should be, right around here. I lean over the next couple of days with a bearish bias here. I'm just avoiding, getting long yen pairs right now. Hopefully, I make the right decisions. We'll find out next week when the Bank of Japan acts. Ooh, good food. John, what pair are you referring to? Are you looking at what pair are you referring to? And on what time frame? And I want to pull it up. You can see here, WTI testing the lows. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Bringing this back to, I don't have my channel pulled up over here. I don't have my channel pulled up over here, but if you go to my channel and you look at the very under popular videos, the very easy and profitable system, oh my goodness, if anyone's not profitable, please trade that. Speaking of zero line crosses on the daily, please trade that. you will have the best time. I don't know if you have the patience and the fortitude to do it. I don't know if you're okay with taking, a handful of trades a year. Here we're taking a run at $20 on WTI right now. I'm hoping for the breakdown. We're seeing a little bit of risk off flowing back into the market. Wilfred, what type of example are? Oh, okay, for entry. So if you're selling and you're looking for a higher high or lower low, when I'm sorry, when you're buying looking for a higher high than the previous price bar or a lower low, I do not wait for the close of that par. It's as that higher high is made or lower low is made, that is when you take action. That's when I take action. As well as, I have while we're adding to this beautiful list, I have to add YouTube and podcast as well. I always enjoy learning. I saw something really interesting, by the way, that really made an impression on me. Now, there are some people who prefer books, and for me, I do prefer, I do really enjoy learning from YouTube and podcasts. But I was looking at uh, this page of a book, and it was talking about John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, and uh, I think it's John Adams. Yep, John Adams. John Adams actually was one of the most successful lawyers in Massachusetts, and he had zero money. He told his wife that he's been entirely imprudent, having spent an entire estate on books. And Thomas Jefferson, the same thing. He actually had to borrow so much money to buy books that his debt increased to the excessive amount that he needed to sell it to the U.S. government library. Could you imagine these two titans? And it just goes to show the importance of always to be learning, the importance of reading, the importance of you know learning from wherever you can in whatever format these days. Yeah, Pop has like a wide variety type of guests on. Definitely, he's a great interviewer. He asks really good questions and knows when to ask them. We're kind of in a stalled state, it seems like. Holding pattern. Wait and watch for the break, one way or the other, to find out where the next move is coming. And that's called off the chain. I saw a good I listened to a good podcast last night with Raul Powell, the founder of Real Vision, on what Bitcoin did. I do not like the What the Bitcoin Did podcast for my own reasons. However, this one is a and the guy's nice. The guy who does the podcast, he's very seemingly down to earth. You know, doesn't ask. He asks questions where someone who actually doesn't have a lot of perhaps blockchain tech knowledge would be able to really get in on the conversation from that viewpoint. Like as if you were in a bar, hanging out in a pub, right, having a conversation with a friend. And but this interview last night, where Raul talks about exactly what he sees going on right now, as far as what's going on with the virus, what are the possible responses and outcomes, as well as how that will affect the economy, was very important. That's awesome, Jesse. Oh, whoever, you can send me an email. Wow, fake break over here. Now back up. I'm not getting in this whole area. I'm not getting shaken one way or the other. I do have a stop in over here because up there, I'm just calling myself dead wrong. Yeah, definitely. Wow, look at those spikes. Wow. Australian dollar catches a massive bid. Strange. I have no idea. That looks like some type of intervention. I don't know what is the possible cause of that. Probably an opportunity to wind up fading, but stand aside right now and let the dust settle. I have no idea why. Look, came right back up. I have no idea why, or could explain that move. But it doesn't look like it's on the up and up to me. It looks a little fishy. That's right. We might find out in a little bit what actually caused it. 150 pip move on the Australian dollar US dollar. I have to say, in my aggressive days, I would have faded that, but I have no interest now. Let's see what happens over the next 10 minutes. Angelo, how's it going? Welcome, my friend. I don't know, Martin. I don't know what caused it. Massive bid, 150 pip move. No headlines that would explain it. Um, right? Yeah, let's take a look at both the pound New Zealand dollar and the pound Australian dollar. I mean, pound Australian dollar, not as much, unless it's a opportunity off that spike to get into it. Hold on, let's take a look. We haven't looked at either one of these today. Yeah. You know what? To be honest, first of all, really simple. Again, we buy support in uptrends, sell resistance in downtrends. Here was the place to enter this trade off of the support, right? You're in your uptrend, pull back into support. That's where you buy, right? I don't sell, I don't fade moves. I don't sell tops. This would be selling a top. So I have no interest in selling that. The move continues to look like it's going to be pushing up. Was that little last, the move we saw over the last, look at that. Some people probably lost some stops over there. Was this a place to lean in and buy? I don't know anyone who had been fast enough to be able to take advantage of that. I think it's just completely best to stand aside. And you're going to see the same exact thing on the New Zealand dollar. This is not a pair to be trading right now because it's not any type of inflection point, right? You want to, again, this was the area to buy, pull back. This was an area to buy, pull back into support, came back up, pull back into support. This is where you buy. You're now overextended. This is an area where you're deciding, do I take profit over here? Am I pushing it? Am I looking for a retest up here? But I'm on the side for both of these. They're not even at a point for me to be considering them. I was seeing the yen come in. Let's see what kind of retrace we got on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. Yeah, I don't know. So most importantly, we just got past London. New York's headed to lunch. This is the time of day not to be trading now. Obviously, it's going to be an active afternoon because we're just in that type of market. But right now, let the dust settle here for the next couple hours. Let's figure out how they're going to take this in the afternoon. But smartest thing right now is be aware of the time of the day. London closes in, New York's headed to lunch. It is absolutely the time to just let things play out and not be getting involved. This is the worst time of day to be trading, which is also the perfect time for us to call it a session. Good one, good one. Enjoyed all of you, and I thank you all. Let's take Mima's advice over here. Get some good food, some video games, and try to. Everyone, do not watch the news. Do not watch the news. Stay away from the news. It's just gonna really just dump negativity on you. Stay aware of the situation. Use your alternative sources, but keep that positive attitude. Spread smiles. It's April 1st. It's a good day for everyone. All right, everyone. I'll talk to you later.